What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Money Line Matt, and I'm here today with my first of 8 NFL predictions for this season. Division predictions, that is. This will be first of 8 videos. Today, we will start with the American Football Conference, the West Division in that conference. That is the division home to, of course, the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all the boys out there, and as well as, obviously, let Russ cook. Does know what he wanted to cook. You feel me? Patrick Starr did bro dirty. Then we got Justin Herbert. Would be an absolute stud of a QB. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but if he had a better coach, bro would be he'd be up there. He'd be way up there. Anyways, then we got also the Las Vegas Raiders, who just picked up Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason, but got rid of Derek Carr. They look like a crapper this year. We'll see. Those are the 4 teams we're going to be previewing today. I made my predictions for every single NFL game this season. I have my divisions ready. And I have my conferences, everything, all the way up to the Super Bowl. That will be in a separate video, though. We'll have 8 division videos, a playoff video, and an awards video. Those will all be coming soon. But today we start in the AFC West. Shout out to the boys in the Discord. They helped me decide. Down in that Discord below, it's Drewski Locks Discord. I'm a free capper in there. That's why I'm called Moneyline Matt. Be dropping picks and making money down there, so that's great. The boy Drew, his is a premium version. He'd be getting big bags as well. It's all about eating in there. Okay, we eat like crazy. But anyways, let's get straight into the video. And immediately we're gonna start it right off. We're gonna start it right off today with the Las Vegas Raiders. So, for them on the season, Jimmy Garoppolo's coming in. Obviously, it's there's rumors maybe Josh Jacobs may not play, things of that nature. He was the best running back in the league last year, we'll see what happens with Jacobs. I think whether he plays or not is a non-factor. I think Vegas is still going to be a very, very bad team. That's just my personal opinion about that. And we'll get into the predictions here. And for me personally, if you want to pull up their schedule, maybe I'll put it in the video. But I'm going Denver. That's a loss. They're in Denver, first game of the season. I already looked at that game as a game I might want to bet on because Denver's a minus 3.5 point favorite. I think they cover that easily. I think they're going to smoke Vegas in that one. Then the very next week they go to Buffalo. That's the L. They're starting 0-2. Then their first home game is against the Steelers, but I don't think they're winning that one either. I mean, I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible, but I'm a Steelers fan, but at the end of the day, they're a better team than the Las Vegas Raiders. It's just that simple. You know what I mean? So that's what we're looking at. And then they go to Los Angeles to play the Chargers, and that's another L. So they start the season off a cool 0-4, and that's just how I'm feeling about them to start their year. But then they roll back home for a two-game homestand, and I think they win both games. They play the Green Bay Packers, who, I don't think they're going to be terrible this year, but I do think this is a game the Raiders decide to come out and, they get it done after the 0-4 start. They get their first one of the year against Jordan Love. Nice little dub for the Vegas Raiders. Then they roll the next game. New England rolls into town. Mac Jones, Ramondre Stevenson and the boys show up to take on the Raiders. I think, again, Vegas gets it done. That brings them to 2-4 after 6 weeks. Then they go on a nice little back-to-back losing streak against the NFC North. They go into Chicago and into Detroit. I think they lose both of those games. I don't think Chicago's going to be great, but I do think they're going to beat the Raiders in this game here. And then the Lions, I do have them, you'll see in my video, don't want to spoil anything, but they're going to have a decent season this year, I'd say. So I think they do beat the Raiders as well. And then a team that I think is going to regress this year is going to be the New York Football Giants. I do think they're going to regress this season, and I think Las Vegas will beat them in Week 9. That's going to bring them to 3-6 as they face against the New York Jets. Now, here's one of the shockers of the video. These great teams, Aaron Rodgers, whoever, they always have that one game where they falter. And I think this is going to be one of those games for the New York Jets. I do think the Vegas Raiders get it done in Vegas at the Black Hole. They welcome Rodgers and the Jets. And I just have a feeling, just for some reason, I think they're going to win that game. And yeah, it's just one of those games, one of those NFL random, it just happens sometimes. And that's going to be one of those things that just happens. So that brings them up to 4-6 on the season, I believe. Yeah, 4-6 after 10 weeks. They roll into weeks 11 and 12. They get smoked back-to-back in Miami, then at home against the Chiefs. Those are 2 L's. They roll into week 13 for the bye, and I think coming off the bye, they play the Vikings. I think that is also an L. So they lose 3 straight, moves them to 4-9 heading into the last 4 weeks of the season. The Chargers come to town. I do think they'll split the season series with the Chargers. The Chargers are that type of team. They always play close. The Chargers and the Raiders always have good games, no matter who's good and who's bad. So I take Vegas in this one on a Thursday night, coming off that loss to Minnesota, coming off 3 straight losses, actually. I think they'll get their 5th and final win of the season. They'll go into the final 3 weeks 5-9. They lose to the Chiefs to me. They lose to the Colts, who by that point I'm going to say would probably have Anthony Richardson starting. Just my guess. But I still think Indianapolis gets it done. And then week 18, they host the Broncos, who again, they lose to. So all in all in the season, they go 5-12, 1-5 in their division, 3-9 in their conference. They go 5-4 at home, 0-8 away is my prediction for these Raiders. I don't see them doing anything on the road this year. They're 2-11 versus winning teams and 3-1 versus losing teams, as well as 1-7 versus playoff teams. Dead last in the AFC West, 5-12. I think they finished 14th in the conference. On to the next one. Let's move to the third place team in the West. That being, in my opinion, the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert, obviously, great quarterback. Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. They got guys on defense that can play ball. They got a good squad out there in LA, but they've got a bad coach. That's my opinion. They've got a bad coach. And obviously, players, paramount, but coaching can bring you down. Okay? Let's be honest. Unless you got A-Rod out there, you know what I mean, you're probably not going to do great when, and I say A-Rod because when he had Mike McCarthy, you know what I'm saying, Mike McCarthy's not a very good coach, as we've seen with him in Dallas. He can't win the big games and all that. But yeah, so Chargers, let's see how their season rocks out. Week 1, they start off hot. They start off big time. With Jalen Ramsey out for the Dolphins, I think week 1, the Chargers are going to beat the Miami Dolphins, start their season off 1-0. But then they falter a little bit the next 2 weeks. They go to Tennessee. You think Tennessee's going to be bad this year, and I agree. But I think they win this game. I think it's one of those games for the Chargers that they you know the Chargers. They just show up and just you know, they take a deuce sometimes. You feel me? And this is one of those times. Week 2, they're coming off a big, high energy. Let's beat the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a big-time playoff contender this year in a lot of people's eyes. Chargers beat them. Then they roll into Tennessee. They get beat. Unfortunate. Then they go a little up north, take on the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings will be coming off their Thursday night game at that point. That's a L. They lose to the Vikings. So they start 1-2. Not great. They go to Las Vegas, or they go back home to host the Raiders. They beat them. They're 2-2 heading into their bye week in week 5. Then they roll out. Here we go. Hosting the Cowboys. Dub. In LA, I think they win that on a Monday night. I think Dallas regresses this year. And I think the Chargers, early season game against Dallas, high profile on a Monday night. You know that stadium's going to be packed with Cowboys fans because nobody's a Chargers fan. But I still think LA is going to get it done in that away game at home. Then they roll into Kansas City the following week. Come on now, bro. Kansas City gets it done. Then they host the Bears. That, to me, is victory. So right there, they came out of the bye 2-2. They go the next 3 weeks. They go 2-2 because they beat the Bears, and then they lose to the New York Jets. So after 9 weeks with their bye, they're 4-4 for me. Then they roll into their next game. They're back at home. They're taking on the Detroit Lions. Even though Detroit's coming off a bye, which I usually give a lot of credit to, I still think LA gets this one done. I think Justin Herbert has a good day. I think Detroit's a very solid team, but I do think LA is going to get it done. At home, Detroit's coming a long way for that game. Even off their bye, I got LA winning that game, moving to 5-4. They roll into Green Bay the next week, so they got to go from LA to Wisconsin. That's the L. I don't think Green Bay is going to be a good team. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll be a decent middle of the road team, but I don't think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to win this game. Jordan Love, he's going to have a decent season. I don't expect him to be great, but he's going to have a decent season. So I think they beat the Chargers here. Chargers move to 5-5. They roll back home again, so a lot of traveling here, of course, NFL. And the Ravens are coming into town, and I think Baltimore takes that game, to be honest with you. I think the Ravens are going to be good this year as well. I mean, they're a good team as it is, and Lamar Jackson now has some cushion. He knows that the boys want him, and they've signed him to a long-term deal. So I see Lamar rolling into LA, a battle with Justin Herbert, and he gets it done. Then they go all the way back across the country to play the New England Patriots. Despite that travel time, spoiler alert, I got the Patriots finishing last in the AFC this year. I think they're going to be that piss poor. So I do think the Chargers beat them in that game, which at this point would bring them to what? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 6, actually. 6-6. So they're 6-6 heading into their last 5 games of the year. To have a chance at the playoffs in that position, you'd think you need to win at least 3, maybe 4 games in the last, and in the AFC, maybe even all 5. But no fear. They host the Broncos here, and I think they get that game done. I really do. They beat the Broncos. They move to 7-6 in LA. Big win. They roll into the next week. a Thursday night game against Las Vegas, which we just spoke about, and they lose. They crap the bed again. Classic Chargers. If I had to predict, probably lose on a missed field goal or something stupid like that, because that's what the Chargers do. They roll into the next game, feeling low, down in the dumps, 7-7. It's Week 16. Josh Allen's coming to town to play the Chargers. Whoop-de-doo. Chargers win. Shocker. This is just the type of team I expect LA to be. They're going to lose, games, and they're going to win big ones. They're going to lose games they shouldn't lose. It's going to be one of those years for LA. I really do think that's the case. And then they play their second game against Denver, second in 4 weeks against this team. For the Chargers, they roll into it at 8-7, and I think they're going to lose that game. I do think they'll lose to Denver, brings them to 8-8. That's a tough game to lose late in the season to the Denver Broncos team, who I think will be contending with them for a wild card spot. So I think they lose to Denver. Then they roll into Week 18. At this point in mine, I'll give you another spoiler. I think Kansas City's got the division locked up. I don't think they're going to roll out Patty and Travis and all them boys. So I do give LA this game at the end to move to 9-8 on for their finishing record this season, finishing third in the division. I think that'll give them a conference rank of 9th, so they will miss the playoffs with that finish, in my opinion. I got them going 3-3 against their division, 6-6 against their conference, 9-8 overall, 8-1 at home, 1-7 away. I don't think they have much home field advantage, but a lot of these teams, I don't see them performing very well on the road. Chargers and Raiders are two of those teams, of course. Then against losing teams, they're 3-2. Playoff teams, they're 5-5. So all in all, not a bad year. But when you just sign Justin Herbert to a huge contract, you're going to expect more, and they're not going to get it this year. That's just the facts for me. And then on to the next team. This may be a bit of a shocker to people, or maybe might cause a bit of a stir in the comments. But I think Russ is going to cook this year. I don't think Russ is going to go Seattle on him, but I think Russ is going to cook. I think the Broncos got a decent team. More than a decent team. I think they have a good team. I think they have a good shot this year. I think they're going to have a great year. So let's get right into it. Weeks 1 and 2. Bang, bang. Raiders, Commanders, out of my way. Easy dubs for the Broncos. They roll into the game in Miami at 2-0 after 2 home games in Denver. Bit of a blow to them. They lose to the Dolphins, in my opinion. So they're down to 2-1. All good. Roll into Week 4. You got the Bears in Chicago. I think they beat Chicago there. That's the game for them to win. I don't see the Bears putting up much of a fight against Denver. 3-1. Roll back home. You take on the Jets. That's a loss. Week 6, you go into Kansas City on a Thursday night after you just lost to A-Rod and the Jets and that hard-hitting, very physical, very skilled defense. They lose to the Chiefs. So right there, boom, 3 losses, 3 wins to start the first 6 weeks of the season. And then they go on a bit of a run here, in my opinion. They go on a bit of a run. They roll into Week 7. They beat Green Bay. Week 8, though, Kansas City comes to town. I think Russ has a good night at Mile High. Stadium's rocking. I think it's one of them games. It's going to be a tight one. I don't think Patty comes through in the end, which is a shocker. It usually doesn't happen. But I think Denver puts it just out of reach to where Pat can't win it late. So I do have Denver winning that one. So then they go on their bye week. Good time for a bye. They come into the bye week 5-3. They roll out of the bye week, and they go on an absolute tear. So they won those 2 games before the bye week. They win their next 4. They go into Buffalo. Listen, I'm going to get some flack from the comment section here. They beat Buffalo coming off their bye week on a Monday night. I've got Denver winning. I think Buffalo regresses this year. With all the drama with the diva, Stephon, and Josh Allen, he can't win in the playoffs. He's great in the regular season, but I feel some regression coming from Buffalo. So I think they lose this game to Denver. Then Denver rolls back home for a 2-game stretch. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Browns. They go to Houston. They beat the Texans. That's 6 straight wins for the Broncos. Right there, if you get a 6-game winning streak in a season, you're pretty much going to make the playoffs in the NFL in general. So right there, after 6 games, they're 6-game winning streak. They're 9-3 after 13 weeks. But then they go into a little bit of a regression period. They lose to the Chargers in LA. They lose to the Lions in Detroit. So that brings them to 9-5. But to me, they win their last 3 games. They're pretty straightforward games. They beat the Patriots, 10-5. They beat the Chargers, which we spoke about earlier, a late season battle. They'd be rolling in there 10-5. LA would be 8-7, so that'd be a big win for LA. They won't get it. I think the Broncos win it to move to 11-5. Then they go back on the road to take on the Las Vegas Raiders, but they beat them. 12-5 is what I have the Denver Broncos finishing this year. They will be the wild card. They will be the number 1 wild card. They'll be a 12-5 team, the 5th seed in the AFC, 4-2 in the division, 8-4 in the conference, 8-1 at home. I love Mile High. I think they'll play very well there. They've got a bit of a cake schedule at home this year as well. Their only home loss to me is coming to the Jets. And then we got a 4-4 away record, 5-5 versus winning teams, undefeated 7-0 versus the losing teams, 3-3 versus playoff teams. Now, I think they're going to have a great year, but I think their schedule is a little bit weaker than some of the other teams in the AFC. So I do think they're going to roll into the playoffs at 12-5. But as you see, when I picked the games against playoff teams, they were 3-3. Games against winning teams, 5-5. So we'll see how that goes. Undefeated against losing teams. So you know what I'm saying? It really pads their stats there. So that's what we're looking at with the Broncos. 5th in the conference, 12-5 on the season. And I know I'm going to get hate for it, but that's what I'm rolling with. Come back at the end of the year and feel free to, take a dump on me if I was wrong. But you better give me the props if I was right, okay? On to the next one. Kansas City Chiefs defending football champions. Travis Kelce, kind of getting annoying. Can we all be real? We saw that video of him punching his teammate because of a late hit in practice. Bro didn't even get late hit. You know what I'm saying? Ego looked a little weak there, but it's all good. I respect the man. He's a great, but his character's great as well. Let me not mix words there. He's a great person off the field. Just some of the things he does with his personality, I personally don't like. But who cares? We're here to talk about football. He's the man. He's the dude. Could be the greatest tight end of all time. He's definitely one of them right now. Maybe the best. Anyways, let's move right into his boys. The Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs. They kick it off on Thursday night against the Detroit Lions. Week 1. Game 1. Defending champs. Hosting the new young stars that everybody's expecting to be great. They beat them. I like the Lions, but they're not beating KC in KC on Thursday night. Getting the rings. Banners going up. Not happening. Chiefs win it. But if that spread moves to 10, I'm smashing the Lions. I don't think they're losing by 10 in that game. I think it's going to be a great game to kick off the season, contrary to popular belief. On to the next. We roll into Jacksonville. And here's a shocker. One of those early season games against another AFC South opponent. Trevor Lawrence and the Jags get her done. They beat the Chiefs. I'm just saying. That's what's going to happen. They're going to start season 1-1, but after that, Chiefs do Chiefs things. They smoke the Bears. They beat the Jets in New York. They beat the Vikings in Minnesota. They host the Broncos and smash them. They host the Chargers and smash them. Bang, bang, bang. 5 straight wins. 6-1 start to the season. Then they roll into Denver and lose. 6-2. No biggie. They go to Germany to play the Miami Dolphins. Second ever game in Germany. We had Bucks and Seahawks last year. They beat the Dolphins. That's going to make them, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-2 heading into their bye week. So obviously off after that, traveling all the way to Germany. They get their bye week. They come back home, and they pick up right where they left off. They crack off 7 straight victories. 7 straight victories, leading them to be 14-2. They beat the Eagles in a rematch of the Super Bowl in Kansas City. I like the Eagles. They're a good team, but in Kansas City, I got the Chiefs there. They beat the Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. They beat the Packers in Green Bay. They beat the Bills in Kansas City. Again, Bills will regress. They're not going to keep up with the Chiefs this year. They beat the Patriots in New England. Then the Raiders and the Bengals come to town, 16-17. They smoke them both. Well, no, they don't smoke the Bengals. Joey Burrow's going to have a good game, but they do smoke the Raiders. They beat the Bengals. Then, like I said, they're 14-2 going into the last week. They ain't got nothing to play for. They've got the top seed in the East or in the AFC locked up, and they don't give it their all. I don't think. I think they sit some guys and they lose to the Chargers. All in all, though, 14-3 season, 3 losses. 2 of them basically being one of those like flukes. They lose to the Jaguars and the Chargers. Chargers without their full squad is my prediction. They lose to the Jags though, straight up. I think Trevor Lawrence has a good game in Jacksonville. Just one of those games for Kansas City. Happens to every great team. They lose a game like that. And then we got the Broncos beating them in Week 8 in Denver to keep up. That's going to be a big win for Denver. They're going to feel really confident if it comes postseason time and these two match up at some point. Let's wrap them up. Number 1 in the conference, number 1 in the division. That's my prediction for KC. 14-3 record, as I said. 4-2 in the division. 2 losses coming in the division. Again, that one against the Chargers is a little, you know what I mean? It's just because they're sitting guys in if everything went the way I say. Conference games, 9-3. Great performance there. Undefeated at home. Can anybody really argue that? I mean, maybe they'll lose a home game, but Arrowhead is amazing. That place be rocking. So they lose all 3 of their losses, come on the road, 5-3. You know what I mean? So, 14-3 on the year, 5-3 on the road, 9-0 at home. 9-3 versus winning teams. That's a huge stat. That's very indicative of who they are as a team. They're a great football team. 9-3 versus winning teams. 5-0 versus losing teams. So both them and the Broncos are going to be undefeated against losing teams. Versus playoff teams, I have them going 7-2. 7-2. So, 14-3 on the season. They only lose 2 games to playoff teams, and they lose 3 games to winning teams. So at the end of the day, undefeated against the losing squads. That should tell you something. This Chiefs team is very talented. They're very, very skilled at all offense, defense, special teams. Everything on this team is very talented. I think you already know that. They won the Super Bowl last year. They beat the Eagles. There's a few things because they went differently. You know what I mean? That call late was a little iffy, and I wanted the Eagles to lose, but that was a pretty crappy call. Jalen Hurts, you know what I mean? He did what we all thought he would do. He took a crap, fumbled the ball. Did he have a good game? Other than that, yeah, his stats would say so. But that big fumble, they lost by a few points. He don't fumble it and give up that the scoop and score there. Could be a different ball game. So Jalen Hurts gonna be out there with vengeance this year, and he's got a picture of him at the Super Bowl losing on his phone screen. That's a bad man. That boy, woo! It could be a good year for them Eagles now, but they won't be the Chiefs in the regular season. Chiefs get it done. They win the division again, proving that they own the West. The West runs through Kansas City, which is funny to say. But yeah, KC baby wins the division. Broncos second at 12-5. Chargers 9-8. Raiders 5-12. And that's the end of that division. Not much of a race for most of the season, just because Kansas City has a stretch of 5 wins and 7 wins in there, with those losses mixed in. So yeah, Chiefs get it done. Broncos second, Chargers third, Raiders fourth. First, fifth, 9th, and 14th in the conference. That'll be it for your boy Moneyline Matt. If you want to interact with me on socials, I'll drop my X, because it's not Twitter anymore, it's called X. I'll drop my X, my Insta, my Discord, all at the end of the video, all in the link below. If you want to join the Discord with me and my boy Drewski Locks, you can get free picks from me. We're right now about to sweat out a bet, Astros and Yankees. We had Acuna and Riley go over 1.5 bases. We need Tucker and Alvarez to go over 1.5 against Luis Severino, who's been absolute dog this year. And if they do that, we win $200. We got our Flex Friday rolling on Prize Picks. We got the Braves winning on Bovada for us earlier today. It's all cracking off. We do it in the Discord. Join it down below if you want to get after, if you want to start betting. Anyways, I'll see y'all boys in the next video. Don't know what division we're doing next, but stay tuned because it'll be tomorrow, maybe even a double upload today. Anyways, much love to y'all boys. Much love for the support. Shout out the Discord. It's your boy Moneyline Matt. I'm out.